demonstrations across the nation, including here in Austin. We look at the laws behind protests at the Texas Capitol and when police might step in. A crash landing of a passenger jet from the U.S. on a runway in Canada. The remarkable scene as investigators try to figure out what led to the plane being turned upside down.
And winter's not done yet. Take a look. We actually have cooler than normal weather starting to filter back in tomorrow night. That's all coming up in your first warning weather.
Video continues to come in from across the country of President's Day protests against cuts made by the Trump administration, specifically under Elon Musk and Doge, his government efficiency group. A good evening to you. I'm Jennifer Sanders. This one was in New York City, from the nation's capital to other places such as Wisconsin, Illinois, even South Carolina. This was dubbed the No Kings on President's Day by the 50-51 movement. In Phoenix, security actually barred protesters after they gathered outside the Arizona State Senate. Demonstrators sought access to a committee hearing on legislation to require law enforcement officers across the state to support federal immigration policy. Elon Musk actually responded on social media to one post about the protests against him and the Trump administration, saying demonstrators, quote, are protesting against the actual democratic will of the people. A similar protest formed at the Texas Capitol grounds. Tonight, we wanted to talk procedure, not politics. KXAN's Hollis takes an in-depth look for us at protest rules in Austin and at the Capitol and how law enforcement prepares for these events.
I have printed over 3,000 flyers and put them all around Austin.
Alexandra is the media liaison for the Austin chapter of 50-51, the grassroots effort mobilizing political protests in each state. Monday's demonstration was the second wide-scale event for the group this month.
Second of many. We are just getting started.
With more of these expected, here's some information about the cans and can-nots when it comes to protesting in the city. In general, you don't need a permit to gather on public sidewalks, but you have to follow certain rules, like making sure people can still get by and not blocking driveways or entrances to buildings. The State Preservation Board and Texas Department of Public Safety oversee protests on the Capitol grounds. Austin police handle things if the protest spills off property. On Monday, a group of officers with bikes and ATVs monitored the protests from across the street. According to DPS, you do not need a permit to protest at the Capitol unless you're requesting help with things like electrical access or a sound system. On Monday, Alexandra brought her own megaphone.
I do think that we are going to get bigger and bigger.
Protesters did spill out into the streets this President's Day, and the Austin Police Association says as long as it's not a major traffic issue and organizers are willing to limit their impact on the roads, police will usually help facilitate a peaceful march. And according to law enforcement, Monday's event went off without any issues. Brianna Hollis, KXAN News.
According to 50-51's website, another protest is set for March 4th. We do plan to reach out to the group and law enforcement, and of course, we will keep you informed. All of this comes after more than 300 Federal Aviation Administration employees received termination notices over the weekend, just weeks after two fatal plane crashes. Several hundred workers received an email saying they had been fired. The latest target of Doge, the Internal Revenue Service, an IRS employee affiliated with Doge, is expected to seek access to a system with sensitive taxpayer information. The administration says the worker has the necessary security clearance. Critics say it should not be an individual making these changes.
I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, and I think most of the country agrees with me that perhaps the federal bureaucracy has gotten too big. Where I have an issue is that someone probably shouldn't be Elon Musk. That someone should be Congress.
And today, a federal judge heard arguments from 14 states asking to block Elon Musk and Doge from making personnel decisions about government workers. The judge said she would rule on the state's case within 24 hours. Extreme weather could be coming to several parts of the state, and the Texas Division of Emergency Management says it's ready. This morning, Governor Greg Abbott said potential flooding and freezing temperatures could be headed this this way, all while the state deals with a high wildfire risk in West Texas. Despite the potential for record low temperatures in parts of the state, Abbott says the power grid shouldn't be an issue the way it was 4 years ago.
The bottom line is that the power grid, because of the almost 20 laws that I've signed, has never been more prepared for a winter storm like this.
In preparation, the state says it's been treating roads in high-risk areas. Because of the forecast, the city of Austin announced it will activate cold weather shelters tomorrow through Thursday. Registration for shelter space will start tomorrow night at 6 at One Texas Center. That's off Barton Springs Road. From there, the city will bus people to shelters. And after 8 o'clock, there will still be buses available to take anyone to a shelter who needs it. We do have more details at KXAN.com on the rules for what you can and cannot bring to city shelters. As we are bracing for the cold, meteorologist Freddie Vela is in for Nick Bannon tonight. So when, Freddie, can we really expect the temperature drop?
We are expecting the temperature drop immediately after the front comes through tomorrow at around 6. In fact, the timing now becoming a bit clearer for those in San Saba. El Paso is more like 3 o'clock. Everyone else around 6. So this is what we do know. From Tuesday night to Thursday morning, our temperatures down into the teens and 20s in the lows. For the highs, we're looking at 30s and 40s. This is going to be some of the coldest air that we've actually felt all season long. Wind chill will make it feel like it's anywhere between 5 to 15 degrees, in some spots even colder than that. As far as rainfall, looks like that's all we're going to get. A few showers early in the day, and then once the front comes in, things look like they should be calming down. But of course, the cold air expected to stick around. So we do have a cold weather advisory that's in effect from midnight Tuesday through Wednesday. As we look back right now, partly cloudy skies, but the clouds are expected to build a bit more. This is a live look right now of our Allied Medical Emergency Room camera in Dripping Springs, with current temperatures still in the 50s. Coming up, we're going to be talking about how cold it'll be tomorrow night and how cold we expect it to be as we get into Thursday morning. All right, take a look at this, at what the cold is doing in New York State. This is in Oswego, where they are dealing with a blizzard and deep snowbanks. The National Weather Service warned of wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour and snow accumulations between 10 to 18 inches.
All right, Freddie, thank you so much. Now the latest on another crash involving a regional commuter jet this afternoon. A Delta flight out of Minneapolis flipped as it was landing in Toronto. All 80 on board were able to escape, though more than a dozen people were rushed to nearby hospitals. Jay Gray has the latest on this accident.
The Delta regional jet out of Minneapolis apparently started to have problems during landing at Pearson International Airport in Toronto, skidding across the runway, then rolling over.
My friend rushed there first, and then he said the CRJ is crashed on the runway. So I was like, yeah, I gotta go check it out. And the next thing I saw is basically a plane the CRJ plane that basically flipped on the runway.
76 passengers and 4 crew members all survived.
First and foremost, there was no loss of life. And this is in due part to our heroic and trained professionals, our first responders at the airport. 17 injured passengers were quickly taken to local area hospitals. At this time, we do not know of any of those passengers having critical injuries.
The right wing was ripped from the plane during the crash.
That's what they're going to look at to start with. Where is that wing and how did it leave the airplane?
Former pilot John Cox says wind gust at the time may have been a contributing factor.
With it being that gusty, I think it's possible the wing may have touched the runway due to a gust. And if that's the case, then the rest of this makes sense. But the recorders are going to show that.
Canadian aviation teams are the lead in an investigation that is just beginning. Jay Gray, NBC News.
To our northwest now, the city of Lubbock will host a free drive-up vaccine clinic starting tomorrow to try and vaccinate people ahead of the measles outbreak near there. So far, only one confirmed case by the city of Lubbock. But in neighboring counties, the Texas Department of State Health Services counts at least 4 dozen, the worst outbreak in Texas in about 30 years. Local doctors want to try to impress upon people just how dangerous and deadly measles can be for some, going beyond just a fever and a rash.
That might be the extent of disease for some people. For others, it's going to cause serious effects, including pneumonia is pretty common, as well as brain infections and brain swelling.
Well, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention points out one sick person can spread it to 9 out of 10 unvaxxed close contacts. And the virus can spread 4 days before and after a rash appears on a sick person. Using artificial intelligence in therapy, it's a fairly new concept, using that technology to help come up with solutions and potential plans for someone's mental health. But with that can come some risks. That's according to a psychologist we spoke with. KXAN Sarah Alshay explains now how a bill proposed in the Texas House would put safeguards in place.
Do a brief summary of like the pros and cons of using AI in therapy.
You can ask it anything.
AI can provide support anytime, making therapy more accessible.
Meet Nova, an artificial intelligence chatbot. Technology that can give you real-time answers.
AI might struggle with complex or crisis situations that require human intervention.
But what happens when this technology is used for counseling and therapy?
It needs some level of oversight, and we have to have reliability checks.
A Texas lawmaker proposed House Bill 1261. The legislation outlines requirements for testing and approval of AI applications used in mental health services. It requires that people must know the services are AI-based and give consent. The bill also calls for people providing these services to be licensed professionals, or a licensed professional must be available at all times.
There's got to be guardrails and kind of the do's and don'ts, and a lot of disclaimers and caveats, consents on the front end so people know what they're getting into.
Austin psychologist Dr. Mike Brooks says he's cautiously exploring the idea of using AI with clients.
I'm just starting to work with clients on how to integrate AI into their lives, but with a lot of care.
Brooks says AI can offer practical solutions for real-world problems.
ADHD, relationship problems. Take that to the AI and say, hey, this is going on. You know, I'm wondering if you could help me with it and give me some ideas.
But ultimately, he stresses the importance of having a professional's insight as well.
When you start getting into, I don't know, childhood trauma or something like that, there's a lot of things that could go south with AI. I would be in favor of like AI assisted therapy that has a therapist, you know, guiding, and they're going through things together.
Sarah Alshay.
We're signing out. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thanks for the chat, and take care.
KXAN News.
And according to Forbes, the global AI mental health market is expected to grow more than 30% for the next 7 years. The publication adds the market was valued at over $900 million in 2023. Giving you some depth here, this isn't the first bill this session to want to look deeper at AI. Last month, we told you about Senate Bill 815, concerned about the tech when looking at your personal health insurance claims. The bill would stop companies from using the tech in either delaying, denying, or modifying claims. In June of 2023, the American Medical Association adopted a policy calling for more oversight of AI and prior authorization, calling for insurers to require a human examination of patient records prior to a care denial. For the first time in company history, Southwest Airlines said today it will cut 15% of its workforce. That's more than 1,700 corporate jobs. The airline CEO calls the move unprecedented, and other recent cost-cutting measures at Southwest include a hiring freeze, a pause to the internship program, and an end to team-building rallies. It has also aggressively cut unprofitable routes. According to a staff note, the layoffs take effect in late April. All right, bringing in Freddie now, the big headline of this week. The cold.
The cold weather. We're waiting for that front to arrive, and we know that when it does, those temperatures are going to drop tremendously. Take a look at our satellite and radar. I'm going to start off here at midnight tonight and play this out. We get a few more clouds rolling in tonight. As we get into tomorrow morning, we'll start to see a few showers starting to pop up. Very isolated, but still there. And then I'll play this out a bit more, and you're able to see that as we get to about 2 p.m., we get a bit more of those showers starting to roll back in. A front on the way. That expected to arrive arrive by around 6:30 for us, and then it pushes all the way through. There goes any rain chances after that, and then we're just left with cloudy conditions. However, the cold air is starting to filter through, and the temperature is plummeting as we get out towards Wednesday morning. The cold weather advisory in effect from midnight Tuesday all the way through noon on Wednesday, because check this out. I've shown you what will happen as the front comes in as far as rainfall, but now let's talk about the temperatures. I'll start the clock here at 1:30 a.m. on Tuesday. 52, all right, winds coming in from the south, but look at what happens as we start getting through the day. We get to about 6:30, here comes the front. Temperatures drop tremendously. San Saba 33, Lampasas 35, Austin at 47 at that point, and then the front pulls through. By the time we get to midnight, freezing from the metro up all the way to San Saba at 24 degrees, and once we get to early in the morning, 5, 6 a.m., we're talking about mid-20s in many spots. Teens as you get out towards San Saba, Mason, close to teens in Lampasas and Fredericksburg. By the afternoon, we'll rebound just a tad. We'll be back up to around 32 to 36 degrees. But even then, that's flirting with freezing. And by Thursday, yeah, even colder. Why? What's going on? Well, remember, the front gets here late on Tuesday, so not everyone is going to feel the effects as fast. But Wednesday into Thursday, at that point, we're all in the same boat here. And then temperatures start to move back up as we get into Thursday into Friday. We'll still see some freezing conditions, but it just won't be as low. Now, I want to talk about wind chill, too. This is the feels like temperature. So we're playing almost the exact same thing, but this is your feels like, what it'll feel like out there. At 7:30 on Tuesday, it's already going to feel like it's in the teens. Play this out towards around 5, 6 a.m. It'll feel like single digits out towards the west. It'll feel like 13 in Austin, feel like 13 in Bastrop. And we rebound again on Wednesday afternoon, but then Thursday morning, everyone will feel like it's within the teens. Now, that's some very, very cold weather out there. Now, we do have an extreme cold watch in effect from late Wednesday night all the way through Thursday morning, because I showed you those wind chills are going to be down into the single digits. So don't forget the 4 Ps, people, pets, plants, and pipes. Make sure that you take care of those pets as well. Now, right now, we're looking at partly cloudy skies, temperatures around 52 degrees, winds coming in from the south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. But as I mentioned, it's going to be a little bit of a drop here. 28 Wednesday morning, 20s, teens as we get into Thursday morning. And we'll still be freezing Friday morning, Saturday morning, and finally starting to move back up as we get out towards Sunday. Friday and Saturday, we do have a chance of rain. But overall, we're looking at about an inch of rain or less.
This is KXAN Sports, brought to you by Thomas J. Henry.
Good evening to you. Home opener for the Longhorn baseball team tomorrow night against Houston. That also is Jim Schlossnagel's home debut. After a weekend in Arlington, started out in heartbreak Friday night, but then they bounced back against Ole Miss, and Luke Harrison is the SEC pitcher of the week for his 6 1/3 shutout innings. And then they went on to beat Oklahoma State last night, and they were crowned champions. And well, we saw a full display. Adrian Rodriguez, a lot of hype coming in, and he didn't disappoint. He's the co-freshman of the week in the SEC. Max Ballou just hit the cover off the ball. 2 quality wins, a championship, and information gathered.
Really proud of them. We certainly, after playing 3 games in this environment against these teams, we know a lot more about our team than we knew on Thursday. And when you play good teams, they really expose you. So that's good. Sometimes if you play bad teams, then it may be false confidence. So there's a lot of things we can take out of this positively.
Longhorns take it on Houston tomorrow. They won 2 out of 3 against Minnesota this weekend. Dartmouth at the dish this weekend. Texas women coming off the win over LSU, up to number 2 in the polls, behind Notre Dame. Longhorns struggled offensively, but hit big buckets down the stretch, and they hit all 21 free throws. Now LSU has 2 conference losses, so it's just Texas and South Carolina atop. So a Texas 3-game streak from here on out. They're guaranteed at least a co-championship.
That's what these kids need to understand. They've put themselves in a position now to go win that. We have 3 games left, 2 on the road. Always hard to play on the road. We have 1 final game at home. But to me, that's what today was about. Whoever won today put themselves in a position. It's February 16th, and we're in a position to win a championship. That's what these kids, in my mind, need to understand. I've been in this position before. I've come out on both sides. It is a hard grind, these last 3, and 2 of them are on the road.
Week from Monday on the road at Georgia. Texas coming off big win on Saturday night. The men against Kentucky, and Trey Johnson is your SEC Freshman of the Week 4 times now. He's picked up that honor. Leading scorer in the SEC, that season career high 32 on Saturday against Kentucky. They've got their bye week, and then they go on the road to South Carolina. We'll call it a must win, but for the resume, it would be a big hit. South Carolina winless in SEC play. And we've got high school boys basketball state tournament beginning. Stony Point went all the way to the finals last year, lost in the finals, taking on Dripping Springs. This year, it's 2 divisions in all classifications. So this is a Division II team, Dripping Springs and Stony, and Jaden Cruz with the thief right there, the slam. Stony, big start. Dripping Springs had a tough time just staying in it. Stone Patterson with the bucket, but Stony goes on to win it. Don't forget, for more sports, go to KXAN.com.